Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. Welcome to the FAA podcast. Great to have Logan back on. Been a minute in between shows, but we're here. Yeah, great weekend of college football. Another weekend of upsets, really, and in college and NFL, really. But we'll get you all caught up on what went down this weekend, talk about some NFL news, some major news in the NFL, and then look at the games. The Monday night game tonight, Thursday night, and we got Maction. We have 6 games of Maction between tomorrow and Wednesday. It's ridiculous. Maction in full flight. November. We also have 2 games on Thursday for college as well. One, which I think is going to be a pretty good one. But yeah, we had 1 game on Friday. There were actually 3. We only covered 1. Washington upsetting number 23, Oregon State. Yeah, I lone wolfed the Beavers, and they almost got it done for me in Seattle. Unfortunately, came up a little bit short. But yeah, Michael Penix played pretty well, 57.7%, 30 of 52. 298 touchdown and a pick. Branson didn't do great at all. But they had the running game of Damian Martinez and Deshaun Fenwick. And yeah, I wish I would have been able to watch this game. I was working, however, but seems like it turned out pretty competitive.
Yeah, this was a really close game for me to pick, and the results reflect that. And I mentioned it before, kind of when those determinations, when it's real close like that, I usually go to like, all right, who's the home team and like what does the quarterback situation look like? Went with Penix. He obviously hasn't really recaptured that super hot start that he had to the season, but he still played good. And yeah, you got him to secure the dub.
Yeah, Damian Martinez for the Beavers, like I mentioned, the 100-yard rusher in the game, 19 carries, 107 yards, of fumble, and 1 40-yard reception as well. Deshaun Fenwick for Oregon State, also 5 carries, 37 yards, 2 touchdowns. And then Washington's running back, Wayne Talapapa, 8 carries, 27 yards, 2 touchdowns, 100-yard receiver in this one. As always, anytime we have a Washington game, it's always Roma Dunze. 7 receptions, 102 yards in that one. And then defensive player of the game, I'm going with Oregon State linebacker Easton Mascarenas Arnold. Great name. EMA there. 3 tackles, 2 solos, and a 37-yard pick 6, helping the Beavers to get close. Oregon State covered plus 4.5, under 54. Saturday, number 2 Ohio State struggling in Evanston, Illinois against Northwestern. They did get the win, 21-7, however. How about Brendan Sullivan outgaining CJ Stroud in passing yards? 10 of 14, 71.4%, 79 yards, 12 carries for 55 yards. Stroud struggled mightily. It was very windy in Evanston, and more rushing yards than passing yards, 10 of 26 passing, 38.5%, 76 yards, 6 carries for 79 yards. We'll talk about that, I guess, before I go over the rest of the board there.
Yeah, this is really interesting because there's so many factors at play when you look at how this game should be evaluated from teams that Ohio State's going to face. And then how is the NFL draft community and scouts going to be looking at this game for CJ Stroud? I think some of it can be minimized based on the elements. Like you mentioned, it was garbage. it was tough conditions out there. With that said, I don't think it can completely dismiss just how poorly the offense looked. I think this is it's going to be a game that so many teams moving forward that Ohio State's going to face are going to look at and be like, okay, what did Pat Fitzgerald do to limit? And honestly, CJ Stroud, we're talking about that. But for me, limiting Marvin Harrison to 5 receptions for 50 yards, that's ginormous. So yeah, it's going to be something to look at. something to kind of monitor. The one positive for Stroud is that he did really kind of showcase what he can do athletically. I think that's kind of been one of the big knocks on him so far, is that while he does have the athletic ability, he doesn't really use it in the ways that some other guys have used coming out, and some other guys in this draft use their athleticism. So that's the one positive takeaway from him. But yeah, it's definitely interesting for sure.
Yeah, Marvin Harrison, the only person that really Marvin Harrison's really the only guy that beat Penn State. he's
Mhm.
on offense for Ohio State, anyways. But I think big factor is, other than the win, was he was going up against what I consider. I haven't really heard his name too much, but what I consider an NFL defensive back in Cameron Mitchell there at the bottom of the screen. Very good player for Northwestern. And I think Northwestern's defense overall is actually pretty solid. They just have zero offense outside of Evan Hall, who I absolutely love. Evan Hall is a beast, 3-down back, 30 carries, 122 yards, a touchdown in this one. Also caught one ball for 4 yards. Mayan Williams for Ohio State had a great day. I guess Travion Henderson was dinged up or something. I don't know. But Williams got the bulk of the carries for Ohio State, 26 carries, 111 yards, 2 touchdowns in this one. Like you said, Marvin Harrison Jr. led the game in receiving, 5 catches for 51 yards. Emeka Ibuka did not have a great receiving day, 2 catches for 6 yards, but he did have 2 carries for 21 yards and a rushing touchdown. Defensively, I'm going with my guy Cam Mitchell. Like I said, for Northwestern, 4 tackles, 4, all of them solos, and 3 pass deflections. Eichenberg also had a good day. He always has a good day for Ohio State, though, leading tackler for the Buckeyes. Northwestern easily covered, plus 37.5, and under 55 easily. Ohio State did extend its game streak, though, to 70, I believe it is now, of 20 plus points in a game. Their streak this season, however, first game, they have not scored 40 or more. So there you go. Number 7, TCU. They stay undefeated, 9-0 Horned Frogs, 34-24 over Texas Tech. Another comeback for the Horned Frogs. They are the cardiac frogs, I guess. I don't know. Frantic, frenetic frogs. I don't know what alliteration.
I like that one. Yeah.
The frenetic frogs.
Yeah, let's go with that one.
Yeah, Max Duggan. Not great. 12 of 23, 52.2%, 195 yards, 2 touchdowns. Baron Morton. I wonder if Morton doesn't get injured, does Texas Tech win this game? Because Baron Morton went out, and then Tyler Schaff did not do great. Morton, 7 of 10, 70% completion, 79 yards and a touchdown. And like I said, Schaff, not great. 9 of 22, 40.9%, 78 yards, a touchdown, a pick, and a rushing touchdown. But yeah, TCU, comeback kings right now.
Yeah, man. TCU, team of destiny here. I think what's going to be really interesting as the SEC kind of takes shape, because now we're getting a really good picture right now of what the CFP is kind of looking like. And if I had to make a prediction right now with the way the SEC is shaking up, it's going to be interesting to see who that first team out is, and the debate around, who should be in. I think if TCU goes undefeated, I think they'll be in.
Yeah.
But
I get ranked.
They have one loss. If they lose the conference championship game, something like that happens, it's going to be an interesting conversation.
Well, I am probably going to pick against them this week. It's a night game in Austin, I believe. So I will probably pick against them this week. And I think what's interesting, I think they can afford to lose this game against Texas. Close. They lose it close. It's an away game on the road. It's on the road at night, which are 2 big factors. And then if they blow out everyone else the rest of the way, I think they would still get in as a 1-loss Big 12 champion. But yeah, I think they're going to be ranked number 4 coming up tomorrow night. the next CFP release. But yeah, I think they will eventually get into the playoff, whether that's undefeated or one loss. But again, I think the only time they can get one loss is next week. This coming weekend, I think, is their only time they can afford to have one loss. I think if it's after that, it's going to be too late to be able to make up for it. TCU running back Kendre Miller, 21 carries, 158 yards, a touchdown, 1 catch for 5 yards. He's been a beast all season. TCU wide receiver Tay Barber led the game in receiving, 3 catches, 62 yards. Also have to mention TCU wide receiver Darius Davis, 3 catches, 36 yards, and a touchdown. And he opened the scoring in the game with the 82-yard punt return touchdown. He's been a return specialist beast this year. Defensively, I don't know who I want to go with. Probably Texas Tech linebacker Josiah Pierre. 5 tackles, 1 solo, 1.5 sacks, 2.5 tackles for loss, and a QB hurry. TCU did cover by 1, -9, and under 68.5 hit. Number 17, North Carolina, 31-28 over Virginia. UNC also is notable for comeback this season, especially on the road. Mac Brown has 5 road wins for the first time since his first stint in Carolina, which that last time he had 5 road wins was 98 for the Tar Heels. But how about Drake May, which it was interesting. They were talking about this game on game day, and I thought May was a true freshman. He's actually a redshirt freshman because they were talking about him in the 2024 draft being a possible number 1 overall pick already 2 drafts away. But I see it. He is a beast, and I absolutely love what I see. He does everything you want to see from a quarterback perspective. He reads defenses well. He can throw it from all different arm angles, and he's athletic, as you can see. 16 carries, 74 yards, a touchdown to go along with his passing numbers. So I'm excited for Drake May in 2024.
Yes. Yep. He was a highly touted recruit coming out.
Mac Brown's highest
Yep.
rated recruit.
Yep. And like you said, took the redshirt year, sitting behind Sam Howell, and has just been everything they could have hoped for and more. And he's kind of getting lost. I mean, more people are definitely catching on to him now, obviously, because he's played lights out. But he kind of got lost in the shuffle with the Caleb Williams of it all and the USC kind of market of it all. That conversation between Caleb Williams and Drake May is going to be way closer than people think it's going to be come 2024. Both guys are uber talented. Both have kind of similar profiles. I think May is a little bit bigger in terms of physicality. One, I think either it was Dane Brugler of The Athletic, he does their NFL draft stuff, or Mike Renner of PFF said he kind of reminds them of Justin Herbert and kind of what he can do and kind of his stature.
Yeah.
So yeah, heck of a player.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because Caleb Williams is going to end with more experience, just a couple more games. You know, all the games he played at Oklahoma last year is going to be what the added extra would, because they're going to both have 2 full seasons by 24 draft. But yeah, I'm excited. But May passing wise, 26 of 37, 70.3%, 293 yards, 2 touchdowns. I already mentioned his rushing statistics. Brennan Armstrong, he's a gunslinger. I do like the Brennan Armstrong. He's a good time to watch. 17 of 35, 48.6%, 232 yards, and a pick, 12 carries, 64 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns there. One big factor that has helped May a lot is the ground game for North Carolina has been great. And it's because Elijah Green, 22 carries, 91 yards, a touchdown, and a 22-yard receiving touchdown as well in this game, helping the Heels get the win. Josh Downs, again, every time it's UNC, it's Josh Downs, and he is just a monster. Probably a slot receiver in the NFL, right? He's a little bit smaller, I believe, 6'1", 6 foot.
I think he might be even smaller than that. He might be 5'11", kind of that 175, and that kind of mold of like a Darnell Mooney, a John Dotson type. But the big thing about him is his deep threat ability. I think he can win on the outside based on that. And it's one of those things that is going to help propel him into right now, based on what I've seen, he's kind of on that fringe early second, late first. He keeps playing like this and showing what he can do athletically. I think he's a shoo-in for the first.
Yeah. And if North Carolina keeps winning, I mean, they'll get bigger and bigger games coming up. 15 receptions here, 166 yards and a touchdown. I wish college will put targets. I wish ESPN will put targets on there because he's probably getting like 20 targets a game. But yeah, I mean, 15. Drake May only completed 11 other balls to different other receivers. It's just crazy. Defensively, I don't know. Probably gonna go with the top guy, North Carolina linebacker Cedric Gray, 16 tackles, 10 of them solo, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss, 2 pass deflections there. Do also love Nick Jackson for UVA. He's a pretty good player as well. Of course, Storm Duck, the great name there for the DB from UNC. Virginia covered though, +7, under 61.5. Number 19, Tulane, roll green wave, 27-13 over Tulsa. Braylon Braxton for the Golden Hurricanes, 13-25, 52%, 146, 1 touchdown, 13 carries, 32 yards. Michael Pratt had been playing lights out, really didn't do much in this game, except for a beautiful touchdown throw on his one score that he had. 11 of 19, 57.9%, 125, 2 touchdowns, a pick, 11 carries for 36 yards. But it's the running game was just outstanding for Tulane. And my guy, Tajay Spears, love Tajay Spears. 14 carries, 157 yards, 1 touchdown, and a 6-yard catch. And then a guy I had not seen before for Tulane, but he had the exact same amount of carries. Shoddy Clayton Johnson, 14 carries, 106 yards in this game. I absolutely am on the Green Wave boat. They're going to go win the AAC, and they're going to get to a New Year's Six Bowl and compete.
Yeah, dude, the inner child in me is loving all of this because Tulane was my dynasty in 2003 NCAA on the PS2, dude. I loved the logo, loved the Green Wave mascot. So yeah, the inner, child Logan in me is super happy for them. And additionally, the American Conference is just really good at producing these teams that, like, every year they have at least 1 or 2 teams that can mix it up with the other Power 5, conferences. And yeah, so I'm really excited to see kind of what Tulane can do coming up here.
Willie Fritz, man, he is a masterful coach. Leading receiver in the game, Tulane wide receiver Deuce Watts, also a pretty good player. 2 receptions, 42 yards. Defensively, I don't know. Probably going to go with Tulane linebacker Dorian Williams. 13 tackles, 5 solos, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss. Tulane cover -7, under 56. Wisconsin, the Badgers getting it done over Maryland, 23-10. Yes, I lone wolfed the Terrapins. But it's because Wisconsin just ran the ball. That's all they did. That's all they ever do anyways. But yeah, Talia Tagovailoa really struggled. 10 of 23, 43.5%, 77 yards, a touchdown and a pick, 11 carries for 19 yards. Graham Mertz still sucks. 5 of 18, about 27.8% completion. Love to see that. 77 passing yards there as well. But it's the running backs. Braylon Allen, 23 carries, 119 yards, a touchdown. Isaac Garendo, 12 carries, 114 yards and a touchdown. But 98 of those yards for Grendo were on one carries, his touchdown runs. Yeah. The Badgers, though, have some semblance of life, one win away from a bowl game.
Yeah, it's been kind of on the up and up since they made the change. And, I was never fully on the Paul Chryst fire train. I think Paul Chryst is a decent coach. At the same time, however, I've always loved Jim Leonard, and I never wanted to get in a position to where Jim Leonard left the building for a better opportunity. And when he was named interim head coach, I identified 4 games that would define whether or not he gets the job or not. And it was at Michigan State, the game against Purdue, Maryland, and then what'll be the rivalry game against Minnesota. You could add Iowa in there because, again, it's another rivalry game. Good defense in Iowa, but man, that offense is bad. But so those are the 4 games I identified, and so far he's won 2 of those, and the only one he lost was a tough road game against Michigan State where they lost real close in OT. So he's looked really good. It's very encouraging. And you look at these stats and these splits here. Wisconsin's not going to lose many games where these are the splits where their running backs do that damage and the defense controls the game, but like they do. So,
yeah, Roman Hemby did his stuff that he needed to do, averaging 4.1 yards per carry, 16 carries, 66 yards. Guy I mentioned in this preview on Friday, it's just Talia did not. He struggled mightily, and their offensive line couldn't protect him because, my defensive player of the game, I mean, Nick Herbig was everywhere. 4 tackles, all of them solos, 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, pass deflection, and QB hurry. So that was a big factor. They weren't able to protect Talia, and probably why he struggled.
Yeah, Nick Herbig is going to be a very interesting prospect for teams that run true outside linebackers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Leading receiver in the game, Maryland tight end CJ Dupre. I believe that's how you say it. 2 receptions, 36 yards. Wisconsin cover -5.5, under 47.5. Why would you not take an under in a Wisconsin game? Baylor, this game was really good. 38-35 over Oklahoma. And I knew I should have went with Baylor. I mentioned on Friday, I thought of Baylor and I was just like, yes, Baylor, but Dylan Gabriel. And I couldn't pick against Dylan Gabriel. Unfortunately, he threw 3 interceptions, cost him the game, really. Yeah, Gabriel, 22 of 34, 64.7%, 261 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 picks, 9 carries, 70 yards, and a touchdown. Blake Shapen for Baylor, 14 of 23, 60.9%, 132 yards, a pick. But the running game, I was surprised. Richard Reese, I don't know what happened to him, why he didn't get a lot of run in this game. I don't know if he was dinged up or what. It's okay. They got Craig Williams, 25 carries, 192 yards, 2 touchdowns. Baylor just seems to, it doesn't matter what guy is getting the ball. Baylor continues to just run the ball effectively for most of the season.
Yeah, this was a really tough game for me to pick. And I like Dylan Gabriel, but he is definitely one of those quarterbacks where I think you live and die by kind of what Dylan Gabriel can do. He can either win you the game or he can cost you and put you in some tough positions. So, yeah, we all knew this was going to be a growing pains year for Oklahoma. And honestly, I am encouraged by just how competitive they've been. There's only been a few games where they've kind of just like, wow, the Texas game being one of them. But for the most part, even though they're at 5-4, they've been competitive. in what is assuredly a rebuilding year.
Yeah, and I just wanted to check to see. Okay, so they're gonna get one more year of Dylan Gabriel, luckily for Brent Venables. He's a junior, a redshirt junior. But Eric Gray, also a good game, 100 yards on the ground, 23 carries, 106 yards, 2 touchdowns, 8 receptions for 58 yards. He's going to be a great late round, third down receiving back in the NFL. That is exactly the future of Eric Gray. As much as I love him running the ball, he is a elite pass catcher in my mind out of the backfield. Marvin Mims, leading receiver on the day, 4 catches, 120 yards, a touchdown. Most of that coming on a bomb from Gabriel. That was one of the good on the day for Gabriel. And then defensively, not much here in this one. So I'm going to go with Oklahoma defensive lineman Jalen Redmond. 2 tackles, both of them solos, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss. Baylor +3, over 61.5. Go damn dogs. Number 3, Georgia, completely dominating number 1, Tennessee, 27-13. Stetson Bennett, 17-25, 68%, 257 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a 13-yard touchdown run. Hendon Hooker struggled, 23-33, 69.7%, 195 yards, a pick, 18 carries, 17 yards. Look, when Stetson has the mojo rolling, and it's just like he is him, like there is no stopping that Georgia offense. They run the ball well. They set up the deep shots are just lethal from Stetson. And then he hasn't really ran the ball very much the last 5 games, but he does enough. And he does that where he shakes and bakes and gets into the end zone when he needs to. And the defense is just elite. 13 players drafted off that Georgia defense. And they're still number 1.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because they've obviously had so much success over the past few seasons because of that defense. And that's the major reason for their championships. But if you're wanting to beat Georgia, you got to do exactly what you just said. You got to make sure that Stetson Bennett is not feeling himself. Because if he's feeling himself, that offense gets moving. And it can be a problem. I picked Tennessee in this one because I went against what my head was telling me. I went with the, Tennessee kind of feels like a team of destiny pick. But it was definitely a tough decision. Yeah. I mean, Georgia, like you said, if Stetson Bennett is on one, Georgia is all but unstoppable because of how good that defense is. So it's funny to talk about, but if you want to stop Georgia, you have to stop Stetson Bennett.
Yeah, and I mean, the crazy thing is, like, so he does not have the stats, right, to be a Heisman candidate. But now people are putting him there because of what he means to the offense. And I mean, I think that's why he should be in it. I think people look into the stats too much as a Heisman race, and look into team success. When there are a lot of guys that are playing on very good teams or not so good teams that are having fantastic seasons. But obviously we always look to the people that are undefeated, 1 loss, 2 loss, or in the playoff, close to the playoff, New Year's Six Bowl, whatever. But same thing that happens in the NFL with the MVP. It's not really the most valuable player. It's what quarterback has the best stats in the NFL and has a successful team. But yeah, Georgia has 3 more games, Kentucky, Mississippi State on the road. So they are going to have to get up for those 2 teams. People are a lot of people are throwing them away, like that Georgia's just going to beat them easily. I don't think so. The Kentucky game, especially, is in Lexington, and it's the SEC on CBS game at 3:30 Eastern. So that's going to be a big one. I know a lot of people. Obviously, Georgia's probably going to go to number 1 tomorrow night, and it's going to put the target back on Georgia's back. So I know Kirby won't allow his players to look forward. They're not even going to think about SEC championship until the SEC championship. And they only have to win one of the 2 SEC games left in order to get to clinch the SEC East. And then they all obviously have the rivalry game against Georgia Tech in Athens the last week of the regular season. So it's going to be relatively easy. The last 3 weeks, they're not going to get complacent though. And Kirby's, I would say, I mean, I know Saban is Saban, but in my mind, kind of biased opinion, I think that Kirby is now the best coach in college football.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely up there. I mean, if you go off of recent, there might be a tinge of recency bias there, but I don't think it's unfounded. I think he definitely has a case to be the best coach in college football. And it goes back to consistency across the board. You mentioned 13 guys drafted. That defense is still as good as it was last year.
And no Nolan Smith in this game.
Yeah. Yep. Who's
Beal went out as well.
Yep. So it is very impressive. And I think the hallmark of a good coach at the collegiate level, I mean, or really any level, is consistency, establishing a program, knowing what you're about, and then just consistently winning over time.
And I heard also that apparently Georgia is about to close in on moving into the top spot in the 2023 class rankings, recruiting class after this game, because it was a massive shift for recruits at Georgia. Thinking about, obviously, I would have to think that a lot of recruits that Georgia was having were also on Tennessee's list. Mm-hmm. And this probably swayed them a little bit toward the Dogs. But just to get back into the numbers here, leading runner on the day, Jalen Wright for Tennessee, 21 carries, 69 yards, a touchdown, and a fumble. Lad McConkey had a great day for the Dogs, 5 catches, 94 yards, a touchdown. And defensively, have to go with defensive back Javon Bullard, 7 tackles, all of them solos, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, and a pass deflection. Tennessee literally could not stop the slot blitz, and Bullard was timing it perfectly. Had the game-ending sack of Hendon Hooker on Tennessee's last offensive drive there. And it was just a masterful game plan by Kirby and the Georgia coaching staff. And how about Jalen Carter too? That was a safety, by the way. I know we got a touchdown after that, but I have no clue how replay did not see that as a safety. Like, what are you doing? The offensive lineman was clearly down. The entire ball did not get out of the end zone. I have no clue how that wasn't a safety. But
it has been great to see that Jalen Carter is still that dude.
Yeah.
But he hasn't played bad when he's been in there, but he's been so banged up that we just haven't seen enough of him.
Fully healthy.
But he's the problem, dude. His get off is so special at that size. That's the X factor that you're looking for on the D line across the board. But when you have a guy at his size being able to do that, it can just change so much across the line and what you're trying to do there. So yeah.
And we're 9 games into the season. I still don't know a lot of the freaking Georgia defensive player names. And luckily Jalen Carter's on that front, because I don't know
they have
like
so much
anyone
talent.
around them.
Yeah, they have so much talent that they're able to rotate and keep guys fresh. So
Yeah. But yeah, Georgia covered -10, which is crazy. I didn't even know it got up to 10. Because like in the morning during game day, it was 8.5. And apparently it swayed 1.5 points by game time, which is ridiculous. Under 65.5 easily in this game. How about number 8, Oregon? Bo Nix, 49-10 romp over Colorado. Knew that was going to happen. Colorado sucks. As I always say, both Colorado teams are just trash. State and Colorado. But yeah, Bo Nix, 20 of 24, 83.3%, 274 yards, 2 touchdowns, 9 carries, 16 yards, another 2 touchdowns. And then he caught an 18-yard touchdown reception as well. Oregon was just throwing out all the plays in their playbook in this game because Bucky Irving, who has been a beast for them, 11 carries, 120 yards, and then he had 1 catch for 0 yards, and he threw the pass to Bo Nix for an 18-yard touchdown pass. They also had offensive lineman Josh Connery Jr. Catch a 4-yard touchdown reception. And then they had linebacker Noah Sewell run a 1-yard touchdown in as well. So they were just like having fun. Bo, you draw up whatever play you want and we'll run it.
just like put it on the football, like backyard,
Yeah,
on the playground.
But Oregon's success is exactly why it doesn't matter if Georgia loses one more game. Because of the win against Tennessee, the absolute demolishing of Oregon in week 1, and Oregon continues to win 8 in a row now. Georgia's essentially in the playoff, 1 loss or not.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. I want to say 2 things about Bo Nix. I want to preface it by saying, like, he has played really well since kind of the start of the season where he really struggled. He's really come on. My issue is that I'm starting to see a lot of hype around Bo Nix.
Against who?
Especially in terms of draft coverage. And I'm telling you right now, some team is going to draft Bo Nix. They're going to miss out on Stroud, Young, maybe Levis, if Levis kind of comes on at the end of the season here. And they're gonna take a chance on him, and they're gonna regret it. Because I just do not think he is that guy. Just because you look like Justin Herbert, from kind of a size, a look standpoint, does not mean you are. I think he still has a long way to go in terms of his processing. So yeah, looking at you, Indianapolis, looking at you, Carolina. Don't fall for the bait. Just be careful out there, ladies and gentlemen.
The Panthers we already have our guy, and he wears a crimson number 9 jersey right now, and the initials are BY. But anyways, yeah, some team's gonna we're gonna look at his Oregon film. I don't know where he played before that, but we're not gonna look at that one those years. So we're just gonna look at his Oregon games.
And they're gonna throw out the first like 4 weeks where it wasn't looking too great.
Yeah, so we're gonna pick the Colorado game. We're gonna pick the I don't know who else they play that they just destroyed. Not not good teams. Like, we're not gonna look at the UCLA game, even though they did kill UCLA. But yeah, it's Bo Nix's interesting specimen that will probably get drafted too high, like you said. But yeah, Bucky Irving, I already mentioned him. Colorado had a 100-yard receiver in this game. Jordan Tyson, 5 catches, 137 yards, a touchdown. JT Strout, I forgot to mention his stats. 17 of 34, 50%, 247, touchdown, 2 picks for him in this one. Defensively, I'm going to go with Oregon defensive back Christian Gonzalez, 3 tackles, 2 solos, and 2 interceptions. Yeah, so the games we're gonna evaluate for Bo Nix, we're gonna evaluate the Eastern Washington game. We're gonna look at the Arizona game, the Cal game, and the Colorado game.
Generational.
The four.
Yeah.
Oregon covered -31, under 62.5. But we're gonna see Bo Nix here, right? Gauntlet coming up to end the season. Hosting Washington, hosting Utah. And then who is going to get them? The Beavers in Corvallis.
Yep.
I hope Chance Nolan is back for that game. I don't know if he's healthy or not, if that's why Gold Branson has been playing or not. But just saying, the Beavers going to give him a fight. Okay. Number 15, Penn State. We are 45-14, crushing Indiana in Bloomington. Sean Clifford, 15 of 23, 65.2%, 229 yards, one pick. Wasn't his fault. Went off the receiver's hands, tipped up into the defensive back. Yeah, there were 5 quarterbacks that played in this game, ridiculously enough. Jack Tuttle got the start for Indiana, 9 of 12, 75%, 82 yards at a touchdown. He was actually playing very well. And then he got hurt. So that went Indiana's day. But Drew Aller, dude, I am so, you don't know how excited I am for Penn State 2023. We have some young guys playing on defense right now that are going to be awesome. We're going to lose Joey Porter and Jair Brown in the secondary, but it's okay. We have a bunch of young guys playing there. We have a relatively young offensive line as well, who got a lot of work this year. And when we get Drew Aller, a full season of Drew Aller, and he's getting all this experience this year already, we got him, Nicholas Singleton, and Katron Allen are freshmen, true freshmen. We got some young receivers. Parker Washington's going to be gone because he'll go to the draft. And Mitchell Tinsley will be gone because he's a grad transfer. But if we can get some receivers to step up, I mean, I'm very excited for 2023 Penn State.
Yeah. Are you sure Sean Clifford's not going to exercise some kind of 8th-year option or like get him another degree to extend it to his 20th season or not? But no, yeah, Alar is very promising. I know that there have been, some calls to get him maybe some more playing time over Clifford this season. But it is good that you get in situations like this where you can get him some valid experience on the field. And I think even though they lost to Ohio State, I think what Penn State, how they were able to compete was really encouraging. And I think they will be a team that's going to make some noise in bowl season, probably get an NY6 potentially.
Yeah, and the way their schedule sets up, I mean, they're set up to win 10 games again. And like you said, go to a New Year's 6. But yeah, Aller, 9 of 12, 75%, 75 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 carries, 11 yards. The other 2 quarterbacks for Indiana, Dexter Williams, the second, 4 of 11, 36.4%, 41 yards, 2 picks, 4 carries, 24 yards. And then Brendan Sorsby, 3 of 6, 50%, 8 yards, and a pick. Katron Allen led the way, rushing 18 carries, 86 yards, career high, 3 touchdowns, 2 catches for 72 yards. It's interesting. I was most excited about Nicholas Singleton in the beginning of the year, and Katron Allen's really been the guy that has taken that number 1 running back role, the lower ranked recruit, because Nicholas Singleton was the number 2 running back or number 1 running back. I don't remember what it was in the 22 class, but yeah, Allen has really been the guy. So we'll have Aller to Allen next year for Penn State. But yeah, Mitchell Tinsley, mentioned him. He's the leading receiver on the day, 5 catches, 63 yards. And then defensively, probably going to go with the top guy there, Penn State linebacker Kobe King, 8 tackles, 5 solos, 2.5 tackles for loss, and a QB hurry. Penn State cover minus 13.5 easily over 50. Michigan State upset, and you called it. Sparty getting it done in Champaign, 23-15 over number 16, Illinois. Go ahead.
Yeah, I've maintained the position that Illinois has been fraudulent. And I've just kind of been waiting for, a matchup to where I was like, I think that this is the team that they kind of lose to. And I think, and what it came down to me is I think Michigan State's better than what their record implies. And I think Illinois is not as good as their record implies. Chase Brown is an exceptional running back. And their offense flows through him. And not to say that Illinois is a bad football team. I think they're still going to finish the season strong, get a decent bowl game and make some noise. But I just think that little overhyped, not sure that they are warranted to have a number 16 ranking. Obviously, they will probably fall from that after this game. But yeah.
Yeah, Illinois is probably still going to go Big Ten championship game. I would assume they are the only team in the West with one loss, I think. But looking at the team stats, I don't understand how they lost this game. They were better on third down, 6 of 17, as opposed to 3 for 11 against Michigan State. They had 8 more first downs, 25-17. 441 total yards to 294 from Michigan State. And they were equal in the turnover battle, 1-1. And they also had almost 4 minutes more time of possession. And the only thing that I see on here is a crazy 1 for 6 on fourth down. So I wonder if they didn't take points in the red zone. And, well, that's what it looks like. The first drive they had, yeah, from the start of the game, the first play of the game was a pick for Michigan State. Peyton Thorne threw a pick on his first play of the game. And then Illinois went down to the Michigan State 2 and threw an incompletion on 4th and goal. So I don't know. Yeah, they just see that one. I don't understand. 4th and 19 from the Michigan State 29. You go for it. That one, I don't get that one. That one, 4th and 2 from the Michigan State 20. Didn't get it, got 1 yard instead of 2. And then 4th and 10 from their own 13-yard line, down 23-15 in the 4th, had to go for it there. But yeah, probably that first one that they went for, didn't get it, probably cost them when it was a 1-possession game at the end, 8 points. But yeah, Tommy DeVito for the Illini, 25 of 37, 67.6%, 288 yards, 2 touchdowns. Peyton Thorne, 19 of 29, 65.5%, 182, 2 touchdowns, a pick. 6 carries, 10 yards. Yeah, we mentioned Chase Brown. He continues to be great. 33 carries, 136 yards, a fumble, 2 receptions, 21 yards. Isaiah Williams has been had a great season for Illinois, leading the game in receiving, 5 catches, 98 yards, 2 touchdowns for him. And defensively, got to go with Michigan State linebacker Cal Halliday. He's one of my favorite players on Michigan State. 9 tackles, 6 solos, a half a sack, 3.5 tackles for loss. Michigan State plus 16 under 41. Kansas upsetting number 18 Oklahoma State 37-16. Look, I would have never picked Oklahoma State if I would have known Spencer Sanders wasn't playing this game. All right. Garrett Rangel who I have never heard of. I don't even know. Okay, so if Spencer Sanders wasn't playing, I would assume that Gunnar Gundy would have been the guy to play. But Gunnar Gundy didn't play either, and it was Rangel instead. 27 of 40, 67.5%, 304 yards, 2 touchdowns. He threw 3 picks. He's a true freshman, I believe. 10 carries, 14 yards. And Jason Bean was electric. You got a lot of help from Devin Neal. But Jason Bean had a very nice day. No turnovers for him.
Yeah, this is an impressive win by Kansas. Nice to see them kind of get back on the horse after kind of toppling from what was an electric start to the season. Like you said, this is a much different ball game if Spencer Sanders plays, I think. But not to take anything away from Kansas, which is still a very good win, a statement win, if you will, for them.
Bowl eligible for the first time in I don't know how long. I have never seen Kansas very good. So, but yeah, Bean 18 of 23, 78.3%, 203 yards, 2 touchdowns, 4 carries, 93 yards, and a touchdown there. And like I said, Devin Neal was just crazy good. 32 carries, 224 yards. That's 7 yards per carry, 1 touchdown, 6 receptions for another 110 yards. So 334 all-purpose yards for Devin Neal in this game. Crazy. Bryson Green, the leading receiver on the day, Oklahoma State, 9 catches, 105 yards. And defensively got to go with Kansas corner Kobe Bryant. We have another corner named Kobe Bryant, not just the Seahawks corner, but yes, there is a Kansas corner now. Kobe with 2 E's instead of IE, as the Seahawks guy spells it. But 6 tackles, 4 solos, a half a tackle for loss, 2 pass deflections, and a pick. Kansas cover -3, under 59.5. Pitt upset 19-9 over number 20 Syracuse. Keaton Slovis, 16 of 23, 69.6%, 176 yards a pick. Again, I didn't know that Mr. Schrader wasn't playing in this one, but Carlos Del Rio Wilson, 8 of 23, 34.8%, 120 yards, really was terrible. And Sean Tucker absolutely did nothing in this game. 10 carries, 19 yards, 2 catches for 3 yards. Israel Bonaconda was out for this one, but Rodney Hammond Jr. said, "I got you, bro." 28 carries, 124 yards, touchdown, 1 catch for 0 yards.
Yeah, this was a tough game for me to pick. Like you said, I think similar to the other game, it's a much different conversation if Schrader's playing. He's been very good for them. But Pittsburgh is another team that I think is much better than their record. They've had some tough breaks with some injuries at some unfortunate times. They've played a fairly tough schedule. So yeah, I don't know. I think they are a much more competitive team than maybe their record suggests.
Yeah, got to figure it out for Syracuse. 3 straight losses now. Got to stop the hemorrhaging at some point and get Tucker back to what he was early in the season. But leading the game in receiving, Pitt wide receiver Jared Wayne has had a great year. 6 catches, 102 yards. Threw a pass, and it was a interception for him. Defensively, how about the day for Pitt defensive lineman Deslin Alexander? 7 tackles, 3 solos, 2.5 sacks, 2.5 tackles for loss, a pass deflection, and a safety. Pitt cover -3.5, under 47.5, easily. Number 25, UCF, tough one over Memphis, 35-28. Seth Hennigan, 26 of 39, 66.7%, 284 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks, 16 carries, 69 yards, a touchdown for the Tigers quarterback. John Rice Plumlee still injured. So Mikey Keene had a really good day, 22 of 28, 78.6% completion, 219 yards, 3 touchdowns and a pick. And UCF probably going to be the team to face Tulane in the AAC championship game.
That is going to be such a fun game to watch.
It's going to be strength on strength.
What was that?
It's going to be strength on strength, Tulane defense versus UCF offense.
Yep. Yeah, UCF has been impressive this year. Really, kind of statement win against Cincinnati last week. And to follow it up, having your QB1 banged up and still pulling out the dub against Memphis, really encouraging. And yeah, like you said, that Tulane game is going to be fun.
Yeah, Mikey King got some help from his running back RJ Harvey in this one. 17 carries, 151 yards, a touchdown, and a 7-yard reception. The other running back for UCF, Isaiah Bowser, 15 carries, 67 yards. He threw a 4-yard touchdown as well. Leading receiver in the game, UCF wide receiver Kobe Hudson, 6 receptions, 85 yards, 2 touchdowns for him. And then I got to also point out UCF wide receiver Ryan O'Keefe, double-digit catches on the day, 10 catches, 75 yards. Defensively, I'm going with the top guy, Memphis linebacker Xavier Collins, 13 tackles, 7 solos, 1 sack, 1.5 tackles for loss. UCF covered -3, over 60.5. Conference USA matchup, UTSA 44-38 over UAB in double overtime. Really crazy game here. Jacob Zeno for the Blazers, 27 of 38, 71.1%, 332 yards, 2 touchdowns, a pick, 15 carries, 37 yards, another a rushing touchdown as well. And Frank Harris, I love Frank Harris, man. For the Roadrunners, 22 of 31, 71%, 285 yards, 4 passing touchdowns, 8 carries for 35 yards as well. This one annoyed me, though. It was not on any network. I could not watch this game.
Is this an ESPN Plus game?
No, it didn't have a network attached to it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
But it was a fun game. 300-yard rushers, or 200-yard rushers on this one. Dwayne McBride for UAB, 19 carries, 141 yards, 2 touchdowns. Kavorian Barnes for UTSA, 16 carries, 114 yards, a touchdown, 2 catches for 38 yards. 100-yard receiver here, UAB wide receiver Taywan Palmer, 8 catches, 110 yards, a touchdown. Shropshire, always a beast for UAB, had close to 100 yards, 7 for 97 and a touchdown. And then my guy, who I absolutely love, UTSA wide receiver Zachary Franklin, 7 receptions, 93 yards, and 2 touchdowns for him.
Yeah, Zachary Franklin's going to be a guy to kind of watch here. He's definitely got some traction in the NFL draft. He keeps performing like this. He's going to be one of those guys who it's going to be fun to scout.
I don't think he's a Pittsburgh Steeler kind of guy, though. Defensively, going to go with UTSA corner Corey Mayfield Jr., 4 tackles, 3 solos, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, 2 pass deflections, and a pick. He is always on our thing when we have UTSA games. UTSA cover -2.5, over 53 easily. How about the upset? No one picked Liberty, but the Flames and Hugh Freeze went into Fayetteville, Arkansas, and beat the Hogs 21-19. It was getting scary, though. It was scary hours for Liberty at the end because KJ Jefferson had a chance to tie it with a 2-point conversion and couldn't do it. But KJ Jefferson, 23 of 37, 62.2%, 284 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, 16 carries for 37 yards. And Jonathan Bennett had a great game for Liberty. 15 of 25, 60%, 224, 3 touchdowns, a pick, 9 carries for 18 yards. And but yeah, the Flames continue 8-1. This was their toughest game of the year, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, you want to talk about establishing consistency and surviving turnover. How about your NFL starting caliber quarterback leaves for the draft and you're still sitting at 8-1 the following year? Hugh Freeze has got those guys playing tough in Liberty.
Yeah, and their only loss, a 1-point loss to Wake Forest on the road. They have now beaten back-to-back quality teams, crushing BYU 2 weeks ago, 41-14, and now beating Arkansas, SEC team. Raheem Sanders, Rocket Sanders for Arkansas, leading the game in rushing, 17 carries, 60 yards, 2 catches for 25 yards, 200-yard receivers in this one. That's an NFL guy right here, Demario Douglas. 7 receptions, 145 yards, and a touchdown. And then the traitor, as I call him, Matt Landers, the Georgia transfer a couple years ago, 6 catches, 119 yards on the day. Arkansas tight end Trey Knox, also 2 catches, 13 yards, 2 touchdowns. And defensively, Liberty defensive end Darrell Johnson, 9 tackles, 4 solos, 2 sacks, 3.5 tackles for loss. Liberty plus 14.5, under 61.5 easily. Cincinnati 20-10 over Navy. Ben Bryant 25 of 35, 71.4%, 299, 2 touchdowns. 2 quarterbacks played for Navy. Masai Maynor 3 of 5, 60%, 81 yards, 1 rushing touchdown. And then their starting quarterback Xavier Arline completed his only pass for 3 yards, but he also had 12 carries for 87 yards. Pretty boring game. Interestingly enough, Cincinnati player led the game in rushing outside of our line there. Running back Charles McClelland for the Bearcats, 11 carries, 60 yards, 1 catch for 3 yards. And then Cincinnati wide receiver Tyler Scott, great day, 10 receptions, 139 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, good get back game for Cincy. It's always nice when you can follow up a loss with Navy.
Yeah, Navy not very good this year. Defensively, I'm going to go with Navy linebacker John Marshall, 10 tackles, 5 solos, 1 sack, 3 tackles for loss, pass deflection, and 1 QB hurry. Navy covered easily, plus 18.5, under 43.5 easily. Sunbelt here, South Alabama, 38-31, close one over Georgia Southern. I watched this game and it was quite the game. But I was happy that the Jags pulled it out. I've been on the Jags bandwagon for most of the season. So happy for them. But Kyle Van Treese, the Buffalo transfer for Georgia Southern, 26 of 45, 57.8%, 278 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Carter Bradley, he is the Toledo transfer, I believe. I can never remember if it's Toledo or Kent State. But 16 of 27, 59.3%, 193, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. LaDamian Webb, back-to-back weeks over 200 rushing yards. This man has just completely dominated his Sun Belt opponents. 35 carries, 247 yards, 7.1 yards per carry, and 4 rushing touchdowns. He is, like I said, just killing everyone in the Sun Belt that he faces. So might have to keep an eye out for LaDamian Webb coming up here. I want to see what year he is. He is a junior. And like I said, the last 2 games, 162 yards and 3 touchdowns last week against Arkansas State, 247 yards, 4 touchdowns this week. So yeah, gotten a chance, taking advantage.
The Fun Belt, man. There are some teams in that conference right now. That it's fun. It's there. It's the Group of 5 Big 12 this year.
Rank them. Rank the
Yes,
Jets.
sir.
No, they'll probably rank like a 6-3 Texas team, or the Texas already ranked, but they'll probably rank some 6-3 team instead. But yeah, leading receiver in the game, Georgia Southern, wide receiver Derwin Burgess, the junior, 8 receptions, 96 yards, a touchdown. And got to go with my defensive player of the game, Georgia Southern linebacker Kadri Jackson, 10 tackles, 7 solos, 43-yard pick 6. South Alabama covered -3.5, over 60.5. Troy over Louisiana, 23-17. This was a comeback game. I watched this one as well. I was watching all the Sunbelt games this week. But Gunnar Watson made it happen. 21 of 35, 60% completion, 223 yards, 2 touchdowns, a pick. Ben Woolridge for Louisiana, 13 of 29, 44.8%, 112 yards, 9 carries, 39 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns here. Trojans running back Kamani Vidal, leading rusher in the game, 21 carries, 117 yards, a touchdown, 3 catches for 14 yards. Leading receiver in the game, Troy wide receiver Rajay Johnson, 5 receptions, 79 yards. And defensively, quite a day for Louisiana defensive lineman Zion Hill Green. 4 tackles, all of them solos, 2 sacks, 4 tackles for loss, and a QB hurry. Yeah, I didn't think there was much competition in Sunbelt West, but besides South Alabama, but I always forget about Troy, and they're both 7-2 now in the West, and it's going to be interesting to see both divisional races coming up, with really the East leading to a division clinching game between JMU and Coastal the last week of the season, and I think Troy and South Alabama might. If they play that same weekend, I'm gonna have to make sure I watch both of those games. Or no, Troy already played South Alabama. Troy beat them. So yeah, Troy is leading by a half a game, technically by 1.5 games with the head-to-head win. But yeah, JMU has 2 losses in the East. Coast only has 1, but like I said, could win it with the head-to-head win there. But yeah, excited for Troy. They covered -3.5, under 42.5. Upset City. Number 10 LSU, 32-31 in overtime over number 6 Alabama. Brian Kelly's got the balls. Went for 2 to win the game and got it. Jason Taylor's son, Mason Taylor, the freshman tight end for the Tigers. I really did not think LSU had a chance.
No, yeah.
And I said watching the game, like, I would bet all my money that Bryce Young was going to go down and win this game.
Yep.
And he did for a second. Until the LSU defense completely disregarded that Jaden Daniels can run. And one play later, they're going for the 2-point conversion to win the game, and they ran the exact same play that Clemson ran in the national championship game. Which was funny.
Yeah. Everything you said there were my exact thoughts going into this game. And then towards the end is I thought Bama was going to roll. Wrong on that. And then when Bama had the ball with time left, I was like, this is Bryce Young. This is what, for me, separates Bryce Young from CJ Stroud in when you talk about intangibles, but something that can still be seen and quantified. Bryce Young's poise is elite. dude never gets shaken. Like, no matter what the situation is, he just finds a way to keep calm and carry on, dude. And that's really impressive. And like you said, he did do that. Just didn't work out. And I think another thing that separates the Bryce Young from this year from last year, the Bama team from this year and last year, is the lack of weapons.
Yeah.
You know, there's no Jameson Williams on this football team. If I wasn't looking at this screen here and you had asked me to name an Alabama wide receiver, I couldn't do it. And when's the last time that's been the case?
Yeah. There's no guy.
Yeah.
I think Saban needs to get a transfer, which he did. He did get a transfer from Georgia, who is not working out very well, and he's hurt, I believe, actually, right now.
Yeah.
Which I don't know why I can't remember his name right now.
Jermaine Burton. He also has an assault charge pending. So
yeah. But yeah, Bryce Young consistently stayed in the pocket. LSU's pass rush was surprising in this game at how much pressure they were really getting on Bryce, and consistently stayed in there and got the ball off. I think also a difference in Young and Stroud is that Stroud really hasn't had many games where it's been close, and he's had to show that he can be the guy and do the thing that he has to do to win the game. Because I mean, Ohio State, other than the Michigan game last year, when have they really played close games?
Yeah.
They haven't.
And you look at the disparity in weapons. CJ Stroud as many targets. He has, it's so weird to say this, but he has better targets on his roster right now than a lot of NFL teams do. Yeah. Mika Ibuka and Marvin Harrison Jr. are probably going to be first-round picks. Cade Stover is going to get drafted. A lot of guys from that O-line are going to get drafted.
JSN not really playing.
Yeah, and JSN, he's going to get JSN at some point. But yeah, it is interesting, and I still think CJ Stroud's a heck of a prospect. There's a lot of throws on his tape where you're like, that's elite ball placement, elite accuracy. But like you said, for me, it's the situational aspect. In Bryce Young has just kind of risen to the occasion on so many times, to where it's really encouraging.
Well, when we're streaming live for the draft like we do every year, you will see me early in the first round praying for Bryce Young and not CJ Stroud for Carolina. But Bryce Young, anyways, in this game, 25 of 51, 49%, 328 yards, 1 touchdown, a pick, 4 carries for 10 yards. Jaden Daniels, probably a game of the year for him, 22 of 32, 68.8%. Not many passing yards, 182, 2 touchdowns, 18 carries, though, 95 yards, a touchdown. Legs were the difference for Jaden Daniels in this game. And I think the no turnovers thing was also a massive factor in LSU winning this game. Timely throws for him. Jahmyr Gibbs led the game in rushing, 15 carries, 99 yards for Bama, 8 receptions, 64 yards as well. Corey Brooks led the game in receiving for the Tide, 7 catches, 97 yards, and a touchdown. Like I said, Jason Taylor's son, LSU tight end Mason Taylor, 3 receptions, 36 yards, a touchdown, and the game-winning 2-point reception. A lot of great defensive performances in this game. I think I'm going to go with LSU linebacker Harold Perkins Jr., though. He was everywhere for that defensive line. 8 tackles, 3 solos, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, 1 pass deflection, and 3 QB hurries on Bryce Young there. Ojulari also had a great game for LSU's defense. I believe that's Aziz's brother or cousin. I don't know which one it is. LSU plus 13.5 over 56.5.
All right, homie, I'm gonna head off.
All right, man. Appreciate it. Do you want to say anything about the Colts first?
Yeah, sure. I'll do
Later.
some parting shots for the Colts before we head off. I think it's gonna be the biggest regret that maybe this franchise is facing. There are so many things wrong with the Colts right now. I would have placed Frank Wright at like the bottom of that list. I don't get the move.
He accelerated it though. He accelerated the parting of ways. They said.
Really?
He wanted it out, I believe.
Out. I mean, I could see it. But yeah, I mean, it's just, and then Saturday, I don't get the Saturday hiring at all. For me, it's a very clear sign of tanking, which I mean, I don't necessarily, disrespect. I can't fault them after you've been just trying so hard to replace that generational guy in Andrew Luck, and you just haven't been able to do it. To have 2 guys in Stroud and Young that you could potentially go after, but it's a head scratcher, and I'm not sure that they are gonna like the results of it. That's all I'll say on that.
All right. Well, I'll talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, sure. All right. See you.
Yeah, man. So number 24, Texas upsetting number 13 at Kansas State. Great win for Steve Sarkisian. Adrian Martinez did play in this game for KSU, was not enough though. 24 of 36, 66.7%, 329 yards, 2 touchdowns, a pick, 14 carries, 52 yards, 1 touchdown, and a fumble. Quinn Ewers was not very effective, 18 of 31 at 58.1%, 197 yards, 2 touchdowns. But the story of this game was running back Bijan Robinson. He had a day that we thought he was going to have many days like this year. Just has not really worked that way for Texas's offense. But Bijan, 30 carries, 209 yards, 7 yards per carry, 1 touchdown, 2 catches for 34 yards. Deuce Vaughn had a great all-purpose day for the Wildcats as well. 19 carries, 73 yards. Also put on 7 receptions, 86 yards, and a touchdown as well. Leading receiver in the game, KSU wide receiver Malik Knowles, 3 receptions, 93 yards there. Texas wide receiver Xavier Worthy, 4 receptions, 42 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a fumble. Defensively, I'm going to go with Texas defensive lineman Keandre Coburn, 4 tackles, all of them solos, 1 sack, and a tackle for loss. Texas covered -3 over 54.5. BYU bounced back win 31-28 over Boise State. Jaron Hall was absolutely great in this one. 29 of 42, 69% completion, 377 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks, 12 carries, 82 yards, and a fumble. Talon Green, who I was hyping up for Boise State, had a decent day. 17 of 23, 73.9%, 220 yards, 2 touchdowns, 5 carries for 14 yards, and a fumble. Just was not enough in a 3-point loss there. Leading rusher on the day, Boise State running back George Halani, 20 carries, 73 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a 8-yard reception. BYU wide receiver Puka Nasua led the game in receiving. A fantastic line, 14 receptions, 157 yards, and 2 receiving touchdowns there. Defensively, I'm going to go with BYU linebacker Keenan Peely, 6 tackles, 3 solos, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss. And I know Logan would love for me to pronounce Boise State's corner Koanoe Kaniho. 5 tackles, 4 solos, 2 pass deflections. Kanoe Kaniho. That's how you pronounce his name there. BYU plus 9.5 over 54.5. What an upset. Notre Dame crushing Clemson, number 4 Clemson, 35-14. DJ Uiagalelei struggled all day. 27 of 39, 69.2%, 191 yards, 1 touchdown, and a pick. 9 carries for 23 yards. Cade Klubnik came in for 1 play, 1 drive, if you will. 0 for 1. His only throw was a pick. So yeah, that's how Klubnik's day went. Drew Pine for Notre Dame, 9 of 17, 52.9%, 85 yards, a touchdown, 4 carries for 21 yards and a rushing touchdown as well. Has not had to do much because they have an elite running game in South Bend right now. Logan Diggs, 17 carries, 114 yards. And the guy I'm really more excited about, Audric Estime, is just a monster. Bowls over every defender that comes in his way. 18 carries, 104 yards, and a touchdown on the day there. Clemson tight end Davis Allen led the game in receiving, 7 receptions, 60 yards. Great tight end Notre Dame has Michael Mayer. He scored a touchdown on 4 catches for 44 yards. And 2 guys I want to highlight defensively, Notre Dame corner Benjamin Morrison, 7 tackles, 4 solos, 1 pass deflection. He had 2 picks. One of them was a 97-yard pick 6 off of Uiagalelei. And linebacker Prince Coley as well. 2 tackles, 1 solo, and a 17-yard blocked punt return for a touchdown that opened Notre Dame's scoring on the night. Notre Dame plus 3.5, over 43.5. Number 5, Michigan demolishing Rutgers 52-17. It was close. Rutgers was up 17-14, and then Michigan came to life. But quarterback Gavin Wimsatt for Rutgers, 14 of 29, 48.3%, 166 yards, 1 touchdown, a terrible 3 interceptions, really cost Rutgers the game. Michigan quarterback J.J. McCarthy, 13 of 27, 48.1%, 151 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown. Once again, though, just like Notre Dame, Michigan had their running game rolling again. My guy, hopefully he wins the Heisman, 20 carries, 109 yards, 2 touchdowns for Michigan running back Blake Corum. His running mate, Donovan Edwards, 15 carries, 109 yards, 3 catches for 52 yards and a touchdown. Leading receiver on the day, Rutgers wide receiver Aaron Cruikshank, 7 receptions, 62 yards. And 2 defensive guys I want to mention again. Michigan linebacker Michael Barrett, 4 tackles, 2 solos, 2 picks. 1 was a 31-yard pick 6. And then Rutgers, they started the scoring the same way Notre Dame did. Defensive back Timmy Ward taking a 7-yard blocked punt return for a touchdown. Michigan covered minus 26.5, over 45 by themselves. Number 14, Utah rolling over Arizona, 45-20. Jaden DeLora for the Wildcats, 10 of 20, 50%, 159 yards, 10 carries, 13 yards, a touchdown, but 2 fumbles on the day really cost them. Arizona's other quarterback that played, Noah Fifita, 5 of 10, 50%, 72 yards, and a touchdown. Utah played Cam Rising here, 13 of 25, 52%, 151 yards, and a touchdown. They had 2 quarterbacks that ran the ball in this game for the Utes. Jaquindon Jackson, 13 carries, 97 yards, a touchdown, and a fumble. He led the game in rushing. And then Utah quarterback Nate Johnson as well, 3 carries, 23 yards, 2 touchdowns on those 3 carries. Arizona wide receiver Tataroa McMillan led the game in receiving, 4 receptions, 78 yards, and a touchdown. Utah wide receiver Jalen Dixon, 4 catches, 34 yards, and he ran a 7-yard touchdown in. Bad day for Arizona wide receiver Jacob Cowing, the UTEP transfer. 5 catches, 29 yards, and he fumbled twice there. So big turnover day. A lot of turnovers for Arizona there, fumbling wise. Defensively, got to go with Utah corner Zemaya Vaughn, 3 tackles, all of them solos, and 3 pass deflections on the day. Utah covered -18, under 68. Louisville crushing James Madison 34-10. Yeah, Todd Centeio struggled all night. But Malik Cunningham for the Cardinals, 14-20, 70%, 223 yards, 3 touchdowns. That's sterling right there. And like I said, Centeio really struggled, 4 of 15, 26.7%, 52 yards, 5 carries, 11 yards. That was the biggest reason why JMU lost, because I thought he was going to have a great night being back on the field, and could not get it done against the Cardinals. But 300-yard rushers in this game. Louisville had 2 of them. Tyon Evans, 10 carries, 126 yards, and a touchdown. Jawar Jordan, 17 carries, 117 yards. And then James Madison, running back Percy Agi Obase, 24 carries, 102 yards, and a touchdown. Leading receiver in the game, Louisville wide receiver Tyler Hudson, 6 receptions, 142 yards, and a touchdown there. Defensively, I'm going to go with James Madison, defensive lineman Isaac Ukwu, 7 tackles, 3 solos, 1 sack, 2.5 tackles for loss. Louisville covered -6.5, under 53.5. Big ranked matchup here in Raleigh. Number 22, NC State getting it done, 30-21 over number 21, Wake Forest. Sam Hartman really had a nice day, but the turnovers were a killer once again for the Demon Deacons. 29-48, 60.4%, 397 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. I think NC State has found their quarterback of the future, really. MJ Morris filling in for the injured Devin Leary, out for the season with the torn pec there. Great game for him. 18-28, 64.3%, 210 yards, 3 touchdowns, 19 carries, 43 yards, and most notably no turnovers. And yes, MJ Morris is a freshman, so they will have many years for him. NC State running back Jordan Houston led the game in rushing, 12 carries, 53 yards. Wake wide receiver A.T. Perry, masterful day, 12 receptions, 159 yards, and a touchdown for him. NC State wide receiver Daryl Jones, also a great night, 3 catches, 24 yards, and 2 touchdowns there. Defensively, how about the night for NC State linebacker Drake Thomas, 9 tackles, 4 solos, 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, and 4 QB hurries. Monster of a night there for him. NC State +3, under 54. Number 9, USC, 41-35. Close one over Cal. I was watching this game, and what a fight Cal put up in the LA Coliseum. Jack Plummer had a nice night, 35 of 49, 71.4%, 406 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a pick. Caleb Williams also, of course, had a great night. 5 total touchdowns for him, 26 of 41, 63.4%, 360 yards, 4 touchdown passes, 7 carries for 38 yards, and a rushing score as well. USC running back Travis Dye led the game in rushing, 15 carries, 98 yards, a touchdown, 2 catches for 18 yards. Also want to mention freshman running back Jaden Ott for Cal. He is going to be something special for the Bears. 14 carries, 50 yards, 2 touchdowns, 7 receptions for 70 yards there. 300-yard receivers in this one, 2 for USC. Wide receiver Michael Jackson III, 5 catches, 115 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 reception, 1 carry for 19 yards as well. He equaled the amount of receptions he had all season to this point in this game, with no Jordan Addison and Mario Williams. Taj Washington for USC, also 100-yard day, 7 catches, 112 yards, and a touchdown. And then Cal wide receiver Jeremiah Hunter, 6 catches, 102 yards, and a touchdown. Defensively, USC defensive lineman Tuli Tuipulotu, Eagles defensive lineman Marlon's brother, 4 tackles, 3 solos, 2 sacks, 2.5 tackles for loss. Cal covered easily, plus 21, over 61 easily. 76 in this one. Number 12, UCLA getting it done over Arizona State, 50-36. Trenton Burgett for ASU, 38 of 49, 77.6%, 349 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. DTR, Dorian Thompson-Robinson for UCLA, 13 of 20, 65%, 169 yards, 2 touchdowns, a pick. Great rushing game for him, though. 10 carries, 120 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a fumble. UCLA running back Keegan Jones led the way, rushing 12 carries, 98 yards, and a touchdown, 1 3-yard touchdown reception as well. And Arizona State's running back Xavier Valade also had a nice night, 20 carries, 92 yards, 2 touchdowns, 10 receptions for 89 yards as well. Loves Xavier Valade, have been on him since his Wyoming days when he transferred to Arizona State this year. UCLA wide receiver Colson Yankoff led the game. He had 8 carries, 48 yards, and a touchdown. Arizona State wide receiver Elijah Badger led the game in receiving, 8 receptions, 83 yards, and a touchdown. Also want to mention UCLA wide receiver Casimir Allen, 4 catches, 63 yards, but 11 carries for 137 yards and a touchdown. All-purpose guy there for the Bruins. And defensively, got to go with the top guy there, UCLA defensive or linebacker Darius Muasau, 12 tackles, 6 solos, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss, and a QB hurry. UCLA covered minus 11, over 67 easily, 86 in this game. Pac-12 after dark, scoring points. San Jose State, 28-16 over Colorado State. Nice win for the Spartans. Chevin Cordero, 27 of 42, 64.3%, 274 yards, 2 touchdowns, a pick, 8 carries for 19 yards. Colorado State played 2 quarterbacks. Clay Millen, 15 of 24, 62.5%, 261 yards and a pick. Jackson Stratton was not very good. 3 of 10, 30%, 72 yards, 1 touchdown, a pick, and 1 carry for 18 yards. Colorado State running back Avery Morrow had a 100-yard rushing night, though. 17 carries, 124 yards, a touchdown, 2 catches for 15 yards. Great night for Colorado State wide receiver Torrey Horton. The Nevada transfer, 9 receptions, 196 yards, and a touchdown. And a whole host of defensive performances in this game. I have to go with San Jose State linebacker Ali Matau, though. 7 tackles, 5 solos, 3 sacks, 3.5 tackles for loss, and 1 QB hurry. Great night for him. Great night for defensive lineman Viliami Fehoko as well. Another good night for him. Colorado State covered easily, plus 23.5 and under 44.5 by the hook. FCS game of the week. I was so excited to watch this game, and it was a good one. Number 2, Sacramento State led early, never relinquished the lead. Weber State never led in this game. 33-30 over number 5 Weber State here. Sacramento State continues to make program history. First time 7-0, first time 8-0, and now first time 9-0 in program history. They are on a collision course to the FCS National Championship game if they can get through the FCS playoff slate. Sacramento State played 2 quarterbacks. Asher O'Hara, 10 of 13, 76.9%, 162 yards, a touchdown, 25 carries, 81 yards, and 2 touchdowns. A beast on the ground is O'Hara. Bronson Barron for Weber State, 15 of 38, 39.5%, 153 yards, 2 touchdowns, a pick, 8 carries for 15 yards, and a rushing touchdown. The 3 total scores for Barron there. And then Sac State quarterback Jake Dunaway, 5 of 9, 55.6%, 65 yards, and a touchdown. Leading rusher on the day, Weber State running back Dante McMillan, 17 carries, 73 yards. Leading receiver, Weber State wide receiver Ty McPherson, 7 receptions, 89 yards there. Sacramento State tight end Marshall Martin, 4 receptions, 70 yards, 2 touchdowns here. Hornets corner Patrick Dean had a pick off of Bronson Barron in this game. And then also got to mention Weber State wide receiver Abraham Williams. That Wildcat had a 100-yard kick return touchdown to keep the game close for Weber State. But excited about the Hornets here. They went +2, did Sacramento State, over 58. NFL, Bengals just demolishing Carolina, leading to some staff changes this week before their Thursday night game, 42-21 over the Panthers. Joe Burrow was masterful, 22-28, 78.6%, 206 yards, 1 touchdown, and a rushing touchdown as well. Brandon Allen came in for Burrow late, 3 of 3, 22 yards. PJ Walker started the game for Carolina, was just terrible, 3 of 10, 30%, 9 yards, 2 picks. Baker Mayfield really steadied the ship, got them on all 3 of their scoring drives, 14 of 20, 70%, 155 yards, and 2 touchdowns there. But the story of the game was Joe Mixon, 5 total touchdowns, just ridiculous day for Mixon here. 22 carries, 153 yards, 7 yards per carry, 4 rushing touchdowns, 4 receptions for 58 yards, and a receiving touchdown on 5 targets. Big day to the chagrin of my fantasy team. Leading receiver in the game, Cincinnati wide receiver T. Higgins, 7 receptions, 60 yards on 8 targets there. And defensively, I'm going to go with Bengals safety Jesse Bates, the third, 4 tackles, 1 solo, 1 pass deflection, and a pick. Bengals cover -7 easily, over 42.5 easily. Chargers getting the win, 20-17 comeback fashion there. Justin Herbert for LA struggled, 30 of 43, 69.8%, 245 yards, 1 touchdown, and a pick. Marcus Mariota for the Falcons, 12 of 23, 52.2%, 129 yards, 5 carries for 24 yards. Was happy to see Falcons running back Tyler Algier have an effective day, 10 carries, 99 yards, 1 24-yard reception as well. However, he didn't score because the Falcons activated running back Cordell Patterson off of IR. He ran 13 times for 44 yards and 2 touchdowns, and had a 1 9-yard reception as well. Chargers running back Austin Eckler scored twice, 14 carries, 47 yards, a touchdown, and a fumble. And then through the air, he had 7 receptions, 29 yards, and a touchdown on 9 targets. Chargers wide receiver Joshua Palmer led the game in receiving, 8 receptions, 106 yards on 10 targets. No Keenan Allen, no Mike Williams for this game, so Palmer led the way for LA. Defensively, I'm going to go with Chargers linebacker Drew Tranquill, 10 tackles, 8 solos, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss, and a QB hurry. Chargers covered -2.5 by the hook on the game-winning field goal from none other than Dicker the kicker, Cameron Dicker, rookie out of Texas. 2 game-winning field goals. First one for the Eagles earlier this year, and now the Chargers with their kicker, Dustin Hopkins, being banged up, and the under 49.5 hit in this game. Dolphins in a close one over the Bears, 35-32. Tua Tagovailoa was absolutely great, 21 of 30, 70%, 302 yards, 3 touchdowns. Justin Fields scored a lot of points for the Bears, hell of a lot of fantasy points, 17 of 28, 60.7%, 123 yards, 3 touchdowns, 15 carries, 178 yards, and a rushing touchdown as well. most rushing yards by a quarterback in NFL history in a game. Jeff Wilson Jr., newly acquired running back for the Dolphins from the 49ers. He led the game in rushing for non-quarterbacks. 9 carries, 51 yards, 3 receptions for 21 yards, and scored in his first game as a Dolphin. Was nice to have him on my bench in fantasy, but luckily I think I'm going to win anyways. Hopefully. Dolphins wide receiver Tyreek Hill had a nice game once again. 7 receptions, 143 yards, and a touchdown on 8 targets there. Tyreek continues to just kill secondaries. And Bears tight end Cole Kmet, 5 receptions, 41 yards, 2 touchdowns on 6 targets. Defensively, I'm going to go with my guy, linebacker Andrew Van Ginkel. Did not have any defensive stats, but he had a 25-yard blocked punt return for a touchdown that eventually would be the difference in this game here. The Bears, I believe, covered +4 by 1 there. Over 46 easily. 67 scored in this game. Lions in a shocker over the Packers. It is really getting glum for Green Bay here. The Packers now 3-6, not looking good. Aaron Rodgers, 23 of 43, 53.5%, 291 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions in this one, 4 carries for 40 yards, 2 red zone interceptions for the first time in his NFL career. 1 really bad interception for Aaron that was just inexcusable. 4th and goal on a throwback pass to David Bakhtiari. 1, why the call? And 2, it was just a terrible pass right into the hands of rookie defensive end Aiden Hutchinson, getting his first career interception. Jared Goff for the Lions, 14-26, 53.8%, 137 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Packers also had a litany of injuries, players going down in this game. Lions running back Jamal Williams led the game in rushing, 24 carries, 81 yards. Packers wide receiver Alan Lazard, welcome return for him. Leads the game in receiving, 4 catches, 87 yards, a touchdown on 10 targets. And defensively, I'm going to go with Lions safety Kirby Joseph. 10 tackles, 5 solos, 3 pass selections, 2 picks for the rookie out of Illinois. Lions cover +4, under 49.5 easily. Patriots just completely annihilating the Colts, 26-3. Domination from the start. Mac Jones, 20 of 30, 66.7%, 147 yards, a touchdown. Sam Ehlinger was not good, 15 of 29, 51.7%, 103 yards, a pick, 5 carries for 39 yards. Ramondre Stevenson had a decent day for the Patriots, 15 carries, 60 yards, 3 catches for 10 yards, and a touchdown on 7 targets. Weird to see Stevenson targeted that much, but Patriots tight end Hunter Henry led the game in receiving, 4 catches for 50 yards on 4 targets. And defensively, a lot of great performances from the Patriots. Mentioning 3 people here. Patriots linebacker Josh Uche, 6 tackles, 5 solos, 3 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, 2 QB hits. Patriots linebacker Matthew Judon, 6 tackles, 4 solos, 3 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, 4 QB hits for him. Becomes the first player in the NFL to reach double-digit sacks this year. And then Patriots corner Jonathan Jones, 1 tackle, it was a solo, 1 pass deflection, a 17-yard pick 6 off of Ehlinger. Patriots covered easily -5, under 40. Jets upset 20-17 over the Bills. This one was at MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey, but it was still an upset nonetheless. Josh Allen struggled 18 of 34, 52.9%, 205 yards, 2 picks. His legs were a lot more effective, 9 carries, 86 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Zach Wilson was pretty efficient. Not very many yards, though. 18 of 25, 72%, 154 yards, a touchdown, 5 carries, 24 yards, and a fumble. Running back Michael Carter had a nice day for New York, 12 carries, 76 yards, a touchdown, and 1 10-yard reception. Bills wide receiver Stephon Diggs led the game in receiving, 5 catches, 93 yards on 10 targets. Rookie first-round pick wide receiver Garrett Wilson for the Jets was not far behind, 8 receptions, 92 yards on 9 targets. Defensively, I'm going to go with Bills safety Damar Hamlin, 12 tackles, 8 solos, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, and 1 QB hit. Jets plus 10.5, underdog winning outright, under 46. Yeah, it was crazy. There's 5 instances, I believe, or 4 instances that the final score was 20-17, which was kind of crazy in one day to have the same exact score. The Chargers, Falcons, Vikings, Commanders, Bills, Jets, and Chiefs, Titans, which we'll get to. But Vikings 7-1, 6 straight win, 20-17 over the Commanders. Kirk Cousins was good, 22 of 40, 55%, 265 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick, leading them back from being down during this game. Washington quarterback Taylor Heineke, 15 of 28, 53.6%, 149 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick, 4 carries for 17 yards there. Dalvin Cook, not very good day rushing, but he did lead the game in rushing. 17 carries, 47 yards, 2 receptions, 9 yards, and a touchdown on 6 targets. Justin Jefferson had a nice day for the Vikings, 7 receptions, 115 yards, a touchdown on 13 targets there. And a lot of great defensive performances here. I don't even know who to pick. I think I'm going to have to go with Commanders defensive tackle Daron Payne, 6 tackles, 4 solos, 1 sack, 4 tackles for loss, and 2 QB hits. But you can go with a lot of other guys. Darius Smith had a nice day for Minnesota, as well as Washington's defensive tackle Jonathan Allen. Vikings -3 pushed, under 43.5. Jags 27-20 comeback win over the Raiders. Jags down 17-0. Came back and win. What resiliency from Doug Peterson's crew. Raiders 3rd loss this season when leading by 17 or more. Ties for the most in NFL history in a season. Derek Carr, 21 of 36, 58.3%, 259 yards, 2 touchdowns. Trevor Lawrence for Jacksonville, 25 of 31, uber efficient, 80.6%, 235 yards, 1 touchdown, 6 carries, 53 yards, and a fumble. Travis Etienne continues to be explosive for Jacksonville, 28 carries, 109 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 catches for 17 yards. Devontae Adams is literally everything in the passing game for the Raiders. 10 receptions, 146 yards, 2 touchdowns, 17 targets for Adams in this one. But only 1 catch in the second half, I believe, is what happened there. And defensively, have to go with the guy that has had back-to-back great games, Jags defensive end Dwayne Smoot. 2 tackles, both solos, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, and 2 QB hits. See, we're going to finish this show here. Jags plus 2.5, under 48 by 1. Seahawks 31-21 over the Cardinals. Geno Smith was good, 26 of 34, 76.5%. 275 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. 6 carries for 38 yards. Kyler Murray was decent, 25 of 35, 71.4%, 175 yards, 2 touchdowns, 8 carries, 60 yards, and a fumble. Kenneth Walker, another rookie, continuing to be stellar for his team. 26 carries, 109 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 receptions for 20 yards. Leading receiver in the game, Seahawks tight end Noah Fant, 5 receptions, 96 yards on 6 targets. Cardinals wide receiver Rondale Moore, double-digit targets for him, caught 8 of 10 for 69 yards. Defensively, a lot of good performances here. I got to go with the Cardinals linebacker Zaven Collins, though. 7 tackles, 4 solos, 1 tackle for loss, a pass deflection, and a 30-yard pick 6. The Seahawks +2 over 49. Bucks, what a comeback from the GOAT, 16-13 over the Rams. I lone wolfed LA, but it was something else to watch Tom Brady roll down the field with 44 seconds. 38 with no timeouts, mind you. 36 of 58 for Brady, most of these ever thrown in a game. 62.1%, 280 yards, 1 touchdown. Matthew Stafford for the Rams, 13 of 27, 48.1%, 165 yards and a touchdown. That offense is just terrible. Both offenses really are, but at least there was some semblance of a running game in this one. The Rams running back Darrell Henderson Jr. led the game in rushing, 12 carries, 56 yards there. Cooper Kupp, of course, he has a good game. Rams wide receiver, 8 receptions, 127 yards, a touchdown, and 9 targets. Was excited. My boy Bucks tight end Cade Otton, 2nd-round pick for them this year. 5 receptions, 68 yards, a touchdown on 6 targets. Very excited to watch him grow throughout the rest of the season there. And defensively, got to go with a guy who's been having a great season, Bucks defensive tackle Vita Vea. 3 tackles, all of them solos, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, and 3 QB hits. Bucks -3 pushed under 42.5 easily. Comeback. Seems like a theme. The Chiefs 20-17 over the Titans in overtime. This one was in Kansas City. No Ryan Tannehill, Malik Willis. Had the Titans had the Chiefs on the ropes, 14-7, I think it was. Patrick Mahomes coming back though, 43 of 68. That's the too short of the record for most attempts in the game. I believe is 70. 63.2%, 446 yards, a touchdown and a pick, 6 carries for 63 yards and a touchdown for Mahomes there. Malik Willis had some moments that he did look really good, but struggled most of the night passing. 5 of 16, 31.3%, 80 yards, 8 carries for 40 yards. Derrick Henry, really effective in the first half, not so much in the second half and overtime. 17 carries, 115 yards, 2 touchdowns there. Chiefs couldn't run the ball at all. Isaiah Pacheco, Clyde Edwards-Helaire tied for the team lead in 5 rushing yards outside of Mahomes' 63. But yeah, they have to figure out how to run the ball without Mahomes running it so much. Travis Kelce had a great night. 10 receptions, 106 yards, 17 targets. Juju Smith-Schuster also for the Chiefs. 10 receptions, 88 yards on 12 targets there. And got to give some love to my boy, rookie 6th-round tight end Chigoziem Okonkwo for the Titans. He had a 48-yard reception on 3 targets there. Defensively, how about the night for Titans defensive end Danico Autry? 3 tackles, all of them solos, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, and 3 QB hits on Mahomes. Titans covered easily, +14, under 45. NFL news. Before we get to that, USFL news. Yes, we have some USFL news. The Tampa Bay Bandits, my boys. I might not be a fan anymore because they are rumored to be rebranding into the Memphis Showboats, which the trademark was filed 5 days ago, or however many it is now from when that article was published. But yeah, it looks like the Bandits will be the Memphis Showboats for the upcoming 2023 USFL season this spring. NFL news, though. I asked Logan to get his comments on it, and I'll give mine now. The Colts have fired head coach Frank Reich, parting ways technically, but 40-33 over 4+ seasons. Really a great coach. It just never worked. The Colts never really invested in the future at quarterback. They've been using these 1-year band-aids, and it just has not turned into wins. The last 3 years, the retirement tour of Phillip Rivers, at least they made the playoffs that year in Jonathan Taylor's rookie season there. And then last year, trading for Wentz, it just did not work out. Oft injured, and not a very effective quarterback there. And then this year, trading for a 38-year-old Matt Ryan. I mean, what did you expect would happen? He's not the Falcons' Matt Ryan of old. So until they invest in the quarterback position, I don't think the Colts are going to be in the playoffs, and I don't think they're going to be a long-term consistent winner without that team investment in the long-term solution at quarterback that they haven't had since Andrew Luck. And I don't think it's all Frank Reich's fault. I don't think it's a lot of the coaching staff's fault. I think it's the front office. Jim Irsay has to give the green light on every personnel move, and think Frank Reich had enough of whatever was going on in the front office, and said, I'm kind of out. So they have skill positions players. They have Michael Pittman, Alec Pierce at receiver. If you want to include Paris Campbell as well. Jonathan Taylor, obviously, just a monster season last year, leading the league in rushing touchdowns. But this was a team last year and 2 years ago that we thought was quarterback away, and just has not gotten it done at that position. And I think we've seen that Frank Reich just said, I can't do it anymore. And that's why the parting of the ways here. So I'm interested to see who they can get in the offseason as a new head coach. There's a guy in Pittsburgh by the name of Brian Flores that I think is a fantastic coach. There's a guy in Tampa Bay and Byron Leftwich, who I also think is a fantastic coach that I think both should get looks. And the Colts also on defense, they have Shaquille Leonard, they have Kenny Moore, they have DeForest Buckner, Kwity Paye. They have pieces. They need to find that long-term solution at quarterback. They need to upgrade the offensive line, and they can be winners. They can be. They just need to hit on some of the draft picks. But the biggest thing about this is that the Colts hired former center and ESPN analyst Jeff Saturday as the interim head coach. He had been consulting with the team or for the team. He's also in the team's Ring of Honor, and no experience coaching at the collegiate or NFL level. He was a head coach at Hebron Christian Academy in Tacoma, Georgia. That is his only experience coaching. So it made a lot of headlines that there were minority candidates that were far more experienced, but they decided to go with Saturday. And well, I don't think it's a bad move. I really don't. I think when it's an interim tag, it really doesn't matter who it is. He's gonna struggle I think, with no coaching experience in the NFL. Obviously, he was with Peyton Manning for his entire career, most of his career. I don't think he played without Manning anytime during his career. I could be wrong. I'm not sure if he played with Luck any of that or not. But very intelligent. He's played with some very good quarterbacks. And I think he will do okay. It's just without that experience, it's tough to see what the trial run will look like. And also, they have no one that has ever called plays on their staff right now. So that's one of the first things he has to figure out, who will be calling the offense and defense. Offense, who will be calling the offense, because their defensive staff has stayed intact. But no Frank Reich, no Marcus Brady anymore, firing him last week. So, yeah, benching a Matt Ryan, firing Marcus Brady, and now firing Frank Reich in succession lead to where we're at right now with the Indianapolis Colts. It's a tough day, tough season that they got to go through a whole half a season like this. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see how it goes. But tough look for the Colts there. Some trade deadline news here. Interesting stuff that went down. The Packers, most notably, not making any moves at the trade deadline. It's not for lack of trying, though. Apparently, they made attempts to trade for Steelers wide receiver Chase Claypool, Raiders tight end Darren Waller, and Panthers wide receiver DJ Moore, all at the trade deadline. And I thought it was hilarious just because I like trolling Packers fans. But the Packers even offered more draft picks than the Bears did for Chase Claypool. They offered a 2 and a 4 compared to Chicago's just 1 second round. But the Steelers' thought was the Bears pick will likely be a lot higher than the Packers will. The Packers' 2 picks will. So we're going to go with the higher pick in the second round. And I agree with them, even though the Packers are very bad right now. But yeah, I do agree that that's a solid judgment on the Steelers front office. And yeah, it's just funny because the Packers couldn't get it done, even giving up more picks for him. They did not, however, express interest in Texans wide receiver Brandon Cooks, which I know was a big thing. A lot of Packers fans maybe thought he was going to be the guy that they were going to get. But they did not even look into him, apparently, with what his salary was and the asking price from Houston. Multiple teams have contacted the league office inquiring about pushing the trade deadline back to week 10 or even week 12, possibly, knowing that you'll have more of an idea of where your team is in terms of playoffs at those 2 dates in time. I kind of agree. Week 8 is a little bit early in terms of the season. I know that my dynasty league we run concurrently with the league trade deadline, so we have week 8, which was this week. So yeah, it's pretty early, and I would think week 10 would probably be good. Week 12 is maybe a little bit too late, but we will see if that comes to fruition or not. Also, with the trade deadline, apparently several teams tried to trade inquired about trading for Cardinals wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins. They were told, obviously, he's not available. The price would be way too high for what his contract is and what the Cardinals were probably asking for, which was at least 1 first-round pick. The Cowboys have their sights set on free agent wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr., apparently getting ready to come back. I think he will sign this week, maybe play next week or the week after that. But yeah, it seems like OBJ will be back in the league shortly here in the next couple of weeks, whether that's in Dallas. I would assume that 2 other teams I can see possible, or 3 other teams. The Packers obviously need massive wide receiver help. The Rams have expressed interest in him coming back, and also his former team who drafted him, the New York Giants. I have heard rumors about them being interested as well. The Panthers, couple of notes from them. They have fired corners coach Evan Cooper and defensive line coach Paul Pasqualoni. Changes once again to the Panthers coaching staff, this time coming from Steve Wilkes, the interim head coach, and his defensive staff after the terrible showing against Cincinnati. So, less coaches for the Panthers going into their Thursday night game here. And speaking of that game, it will be PJ Walker at quarterback once again, not Baker Mayfield. Short week, I kind of agree with the move, just being consistency-wise there. But PJ has to play a lot better than he did against Cincinnati on Sunday. And I think he will. They had a nice game against the Falcons last time, 2 weeks ago, and now getting him at home on a short week, I think will benefit PJ Walker and the home team there. Bunch of IR activations, teams getting some help here. Mentioned Falcons running back Cordell Patterson. He played this weekend. Panthers, they also activated quarterback Sam Darnold from IR, so they'll have PJ Walker. I would believe Baker Mayfield would back him up, and then Sam Darnold would be inactive for the game. Browns getting some help. They activated running back Jerome Ford and defensive end Chase Winovich off of IR. And the Saints activating corner PJ Williams off of IR, and he will play tonight. No Jarvis Landry for New Orleans there. One player getting placed on IR, Patriots offensive tackle Marcus Cannon. So hurt the offensive line depth there in New England. Injuries, not as many to talk about this week yet, but Packers losing some guys here. Pass rusher Rashawn Gary, he tore his ACL. He is out for the season. Confirmed MRI coming tomorrow, more than likely. Also with Green Bay, rookie wide receiver Romeo Doubs, he has a high ankle sprain. He is out 4 to 6 weeks. Bills defensive end Gregory Rousseau, he has an ankle sprain. He is week to week. And more concerning, Bills quarterback Josh Allen has an ulnar collateral ligament UCL injury there in his elbow. Hopefully no more tomorrow, head coach Sean McDermott said. Not concerning yet for Buffalo, but could be down the line. Matt Barkley, the number one backup for Allen there. Giants safety Xavier McKinney, he suffered a broken hand on vacation during the bye week. So he is out several weeks, was placed on IR today. ATV accident. Guys, just don't ride ATVs. We saw this injury. We've seen countless other injuries with ATVs. I'm liking on the Seahawks second round pick out of Michigan State that got injured and never really played in the NFL because he got hurt. McDowell, I believe, Malik McDowell, I think was his name. So yeah, just don't ride ATVs, guys. Just don't do it. It's not worth it. And last injury here, the Cardinals safety Budda Baker has a high ankle sprain, out 2 to 3 weeks. They hope that is the timeline there, not longer for him. And transactions wise, the Raiders, they signed former Seahawks corner Sidney Jones, released him last week to waivers, cleared waivers, and now he is a Las Vegas Raider. We have, like I said, Maction this week. We have 6 games between tomorrow and Wednesday. Tomorrow is Eastern Michigan, 5-4 Eagles, -7 at Akron Zips. They are 1-8. The over-under is 55 for that game. That's 7 p.m. No network attachment there. Ohio Bobcats 6-3. They are 1-point favorites at the Miami, Ohio Redhawks, who are 4-5. Over-under is 50.5. That is at 7:30 on ESPN2 tomorrow. I would smash the Ohio -1 there. I love the Bobcats on the road. And then last game tomorrow, Ball State Cardinals 5-4 at the Toledo Rockets 6-3. The Rockets are 11.5 point favorites at home. Over under is 51.5, and that is 8 p.m. on ESPN. Wednesday night, we have Northern Illinois Huskies. They are 2-7 at the Western Michigan Broncos. Western Michigan Mustangs, I believe it is. 3-6. It is a pick'em game. So I'm going to just place my faith in NIU because Rusty's Huskies was a thing last year. It hasn't really been great this year. 2-7, not going to bowl game, but have to believe in NIU during Maction. Over under is 52 for that game, 7 p.m. on ESPNU. The Buffalo Bulls, 5-4. They are 2-point favorites at the Central Michigan Chippewas, who are 3-6. Over under is 55.5, 7 p.m. on ESPN2. Also really like Buffalo -2 on the road in that situation there. And then finally, Kent State, Golden Flashes, 3-6, 2.5-point favorites at the Bowling Green Falcons, who are 5-4. Over under is 57.5. That's 7 p.m. No network. I hate that there's no network on that one. I think that's going to be the best game on Wednesday night. And I would take Bowling Green money line there, fighting for the MAC East Division Championship there with Buffalo and Ohio. Thursday, we have 2 college games. The Tulsa Golden Hurricanes, 3-6 at Memphis Tigers, 4-5, 6.5-point favorites at home is Memphis. Over under is 62, 7:30 on ESPN. I like Memphis in that game a lot. I would probably take the spread 6.5. And then finally, Georgia Southern Eagles, 5-4 at the Louisiana Raging Cajuns, who are 4-5, 3-point favorites at home. Over under is 59, 7:30 on ESPNU. Might look at the over on that game. I like Georgia Southern on the road. However, Kyle Van Treese and co. going in to Louisiana. Let's talk about pick standings here. Yeah, we all went 1-1 again last week. We all got the Bengals wrong on Monday Night Football, lost to the Browns, and then we all got the Eagles right, beating the Texans on Thursday night. So I am still a game up on Mark, 12-6. Mark is 11-7 right behind me. Logan 2 games back at 10-8, and Peter 4 games back at 8-10. And because I have a 1-game lead, I'm just going to go for it this week. I'm picking 2 different games here. Ravens, 1.5-point favorites in Caesar Superdome against the Saints in New Orleans. Look, I'm gonna go with the Red Rifle tonight, right? I traded for Chris Olave in one of my leagues. He's not gonna get the points I need because I need like 70 points tonight. But I just think against the Ravens, the lack of wide receivers on offense is gonna hurt Lamar Jackson against the New Orleans defense. I think even in Roquan Smith's debut for Baltimore, I think the Saints can get it done offensively. No Mark Ingram for New Orleans. It's going to be Jordan Howard, the backup to Alvin Kamara. I think Kamara gets a ton of work tonight, especially in the passing game like he has been the last couple of games. And New Orleans uses the home crowd. It's a primetime game, and they get it done on Monday Night Football. Lone Wolf. That was so bad, but it's okay. My throat is not doing well right now. Over under is 47. I would probably look to the under. I think this is going to be a defensive game here. 8:15 on ESPN. And the Thursday night game rematch. 2 games in 3 weeks for these 2 teams. Falcons, 3-point favorites at the Panthers. Mark and I rolling with Carolina at home. They should have beaten the Falcons in Atlanta 2 weeks ago. I think they're going to get revenge in this game. PJ Walker knows what to do. They're going to have the home crowd behind them in Carolina. I hope they wear their black jerseys for this one. I'm not sure if they are or if they're wearing their blue ones, but I would love for them to wear their black jerseys, go all black. And I think that they can do it. Deontay Foreman should get a run in this game. Look for Terrace Marshall to continue to improve as he has done. And we need DJ Moore to be the guy again and beat the Falcons like we should have the first game against them 2 weeks ago. Peter and Logan on the Falcons there for that one. Over-under is 42.5. I am going over. Give me the points. I think there's going to be a lot of points scored again, just like there was in the first matchup. 8:15 on Thursday, Prime Video. Next week, we'll be back on Monday talking NFL Week 11, the Week 10 closing game on Monday night between the Commanders and the Eagles in Philly, and the Week 11 kickoff, Titans at the Packers in Green Bay. As always, we'll give you all of the college football and NFL game recaps from the weekend and give you the news and notes from around college football and NFL. And then we'll talk about these two games that I mentioned here. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media at FAA Podcast on Instagram and Twitter. FAA_bets is our betting account on Twitter, and FAApodcast.com is our website. You can check us out here on YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, etc. Thank y'all for watching.